Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr. How are you, Hannah?
I'm well, and how are you?
Doing good. It is December all of a sudden. The last month of the year, and man, it's gone fast.
It has. I feel like just in general, the last 3 years have gone by.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I was sitting there tonight with my daughter who's about to turn. She's gonna be 14 here in a couple of weeks.
Whew.
And I'm just like sitting there, talking and cutting up and joking. I'm like, this is so weird. She is like a grown person, and it's really weird. But anyway, we actually there's a one of the fun things we did was StarWars.com right now has a "How well do you know Ahsoka?" quiz.
Okay.
And she is obviously Ahsoka's like her favorite. So she got 9 out of 10 questions right.
Which one did she get wrong?
What was the planet that she found the map on in the first episode of Ahsoka?
Yeah, no.
Well, it was multiple choice, so you would probably get it right. It was Coruscant, either Coruscant, Dagobah, Arcana, or Braca.
Braca.
No.
No.
Arcana.
Yeah. No, I'm not good with planet names, so.
Braca is the one that Cal Kestis is on when he's building the Star Destroyers.
If you're going to get a question wrong, that's the one to get wrong.
Yeah, all the other ones were obviously kind of easy, like who was her favorite clone, who was her master, who was her Padawan, things like that. So what species she was, things like that. She knew all those pretty easily.
So then she knows Ahsoka very well.
She does. I was pretty proud. She's very actually oh man, I don't know if I want to risk it. I was about to show you what I got her for Christmas.
Is she gonna watch this?
That's I don't know.
The moment you say no, she's not gonna watch it.
I know.
This is the episode she will watch.
Remind me to show you after we're done filming here. So okay, because it is incredible. All right, thanks everybody again for coming back. We took a little break because of Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I know we have listeners and watchers around the world, so just hope you had a good weekend if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving. Of course, thanks to our patrons, as always, for supporting the show. This has been fantastic. I know the year's gone really fast, but do got some other, I owe you guys a bunch of stuff, and we are going to be doing a lot of that here soon. But again, thank you so much for coming. I've got an idea for next year. Actually, Hannah, I haven't even shared it with Hannah yet either, so I'll have to talk about that after this.
Excited.
But anyway, thanks everybody, and we've got a couple big things to talk about this episode. Even though the strike is over and production starting to ramp up and things like that, we still haven't really gotten any news on any kind of rollouts. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of rumors that we're going to talk about regarding next year's schedule. There's some movie news possibly brewing and things like that. So we'll get into all that. But the first thing we got to talk about is kind of the big news that has hit the last couple of weeks. I know it's been already out there for a while, but it's given us some time to kind of digest it a little bit and really think about it. And that's Dave Filoni's new role. And now, before Hannah kind of talks about what she feels, is my first inkling is it's kind of about time. Technically, so he's been technically promoted to chief creative officer of Lucasfilm. So he's basically one step down in a sense from Kathleen Kennedy as far as direct working relationship regarding of the full creative of Lucasfilm. Again, you can almost argue the fact that he's kind of been doing that anyway, especially with the Disney Plus Mando shows that he's been, Mandoverse shows that he's been kind of overseeing. But now it seems like, okay, he's going to have his hand in everything that Lucasfilm puts out there, which for one is a lot of work. You know, how much does that take away from his personal creativity on his projects?
Mm-hmm.
Or does that add to it? You know, so there's all arguments there. But what's your initial reaction to the news about his role?
Honestly, my first initial reaction was, wait, he wasn't already?
He was a creative executive is what he was.
Right. But I guess I just assumed that he was. But the other, like, the more that I thought about it, the more that I really sincerely hope he has a group that surrounds him, where he can collaborate and bounce ideas off of. Because, like, as you said, that's a lot. That's a lot to put on one person. You need to have a group of people. You need to have other people looking at it and giving their feedback. I think that's one of the reasons why Empire Strikes Back was so good, is because George didn't direct it. Somebody else directed it. So you have a different perspective coming in. And so that's just my thought, is that's great that he's, what is it, like the CCO, I guess is what you would call it. But I really hope that he surrounds himself with a team that can support him, but also can say, no, dude, we need to pull back and just keep everything in check, because we all need that. We all need people who will keep us accountable. I don't care who you are. You need those people in your life. And I feel like with this much power and responsibility, you need that even more. Otherwise, it could take a turn for the worst and end up not being as good as it can be. And you and I both know that in the industry we're in, collaboration's huge and teamwork is huge. So that's my 2 cents on it. What about you?
Well, I think we'll, you know, it's hard because I think it's going to still take a while. What I mean by that is maybe a couple years to actually fully kind of experience his collective creative, input on all these projects, because the ones we're getting, he probably wasn't involved in those yet, right? Because they've been worked on the last couple of years. So, you know, if Acolyte is coming, and, you know, Skeleton Crew, I think it was one of his, but Acolyte, even Bad Batch, he wasn't, part into that. He was, I think, an executive producer, but he tried to hand that off.
Right.
You know, so if there's projects right now in the works, especially maybe the movies, but even, you know, that probably changed now because they haven't started production yet. So maybe it's not as much as I thought. You know, Andor season 2 is already shot. You know, so there are a couple things probably that he hasn't touched yet that he'll start getting into. I think that is the thing that I'm most excited about, because Filoni, you know, I've said it many times on the show, he is the clone of George Lucas.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the direct Padawan of that line. If you want to, you know, do the master apprentice thing, I mean, he was George's apprentice.
Yeah.
And now he is truly the master now. He is George Lucas's role now. And that is something I think a lot of fans have argued that Lucasfilm has been lacking since George left. You know, people first thought when we heard about this story group, the Lucasfilm story group, that, oh, okay, they're the collective group that has been around for a while.
Right.
It'll be the ones that kind of police the creativity of Star Wars. Well, we've come to learn they weren't really there to head the creative. They were there to just try to limit the mistakes in the continuity.
Yes.
Which really has nothing to do with story.
No.
Right? So now I'm sure they were part of it a little bit, but they as in Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy, they gave a lot of power, I feel like, to some might argue this, but they gave a lot of power to the creatives, the directors like JJ and, Gareth Edwards and Ron Howard and these people that came in and were doing these movies.
Yeah.
I mean, they let them be creative and tell their story of it, just staying within the parameters, right? Mm-hmm. But now, like you said, now you got somebody like the way George was on 5 and 6 to be there saying, no, that's not Star Wars. That's not how we do it. And I think that if Dave's going in it like that, then I think we're just going to start seeing, we should in a way see just a complete lane, almost in a sense of continuity with Star Wars. It's going to be different stories, sure, but I think you're going to start seeing a little more thread of Star Wars and everything. And
yes,
I don't know. I get it that some people may argue that that's what we haven't had. I mean, I still feel a lot of it is Star Wars, but but not all. I mean, even what George was doing sometimes wasn't the best, right? So, but it all was Star Wars. You know, it's hard to kind of explain that, but I think Filoni gets it better than anybody. Obviously, it's hard for him to make something that people don't like. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it's a good move. I will say though that the other side of this, when you talk about people that he should surround himself with, mm-hmm. Many people may not know the name, but Carrie Beck, who is a producer there at Lucasfilm, if you don't know who she is, look her up. She's been there for a long time, mm-hmm. ever since the Clone Wars. And wherever Filoni is, she's been right there as his producer. And she has now been promoted as well to head of development. Mm-hmm. So now you want to talk about working with the person that you've been working with since 2008. He's the creative person, and then she's the one that puts it all together and gets all the people and makes sure all the right key people are together and developing these projects. And so the success that has come from them through Clone Wars, through Rebels, through Mandalorian, through Tales of the Jedi, through Ahsoka, they are now heading Lucasfilm. So I think it's a good move.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Let's just hope. I just hope it doesn't get to their heads. That's my only concern, and that's such a weird thing to say, and I don't think it will. But I honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened earlier.
Yeah, I think, it's true. I think it's taken a while, but I think with Dave, it's kind of like the jump from animation to live action. Like it took a while for him to kind of understand what that meant, and again, surrounding himself with good people. I mean, he learned from Favreau how to do that. So yeah, you're right. I think I don't know. I think what they're doing is not going to be that much dissimilar to what they've been doing. I think they just have a lot more responsibility with it now. And
absolutely.
Yeah, they're definitely entrusted with a lot more. So do you think, how do you because I guess the only thing that I wonder and worry about, if anything, is can he get so involved in a series, like he was with Ahsoka, writing and developing and directing. Can you do that for a project when you're actually so involved in everything that Lucasfilm is doing now?
That's an excellent question. But I think that's one thing that we have seen Dave do in the past is that he does delegation. So
yeah.
So I don't think there'll be a huge issue there, but I wouldn't be surprised if we still saw him as a writer or as a producer or a director on a show. I wouldn't be surprised if he still did that because, that's what he loves.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we still saw him do that, but I do think that the responsibilities of this role will take him more from that, just because he has so much on his plate at this point.
I do too, because when you look back at all the behind the scenes meetings and things that they talked about in pre-production on Clone Wars, George was there delegating, like you said, delegating everything. Mm-hmm. He was, and Filoni's the one that took everything and then went and executed it. I think the right thing to do, and Filoni's actually mentioned this recently in several things that I've heard him say, and Tales of the Jedi is kind of an example of that. He's like, I'm trying to, like you said, train the next generation. And so the question becomes, which I think he needs to start doing now, is who's the next Dave Filoni? Who is he going to train that is going to take it over when he steps down? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because if he doesn't do that, then it's like, wow, who's going to do this now? Who could they trust to get it like he does? You know what I mean? So, and I don't know if that person is around yet because I haven't heard or seen anybody, because Favreau is not, they're too close in age in a sense. So he almost needs to find somebody like how he got found. Mm-hmm. Be the guy, be the Lucas again in the room, just putting his ideas out there and letting everybody kind of go make the stuff, with him just supervising. That's what I think would be best for Star Wars and for Lucasfilm.
Completely agree.
So,
I think. So, do you think he's going to go after like a 20-something-year-old, or is he going to go with someone who's a lot more seasoned in the industry?
Yeah, I think 20s I think that's probably too young. I think someone's got to be experienced. I mean, he had a lot of animation experience. I mean, we got to face it. I think George got lucky with him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, he was a Star Wars fan, sure, but he was an animations guy, right? Mm-hmm. He was doing Avatar. I think he was working on Avatar, right? The Last Airbender.
Pretty sure he was.
Yeah, when he got interviewed for this to come work on the Clone Wars. So, and it just so happened that when he got hired, that he just was able to consume as much as he could from George. And so, I mean, that's luck.
Yeah. Right place at the right time.
Yeah. But, and Dave growing into that role, understanding that role and understanding what George, because some people, I mean, he spent hours and hours, right? I mean, right next to him, mm-hmm. nights, weekends. I mean, it's just, it's a life, and you've got to find somebody that has that passion and is willing to put a lot of time and work into it and then understand it. truly understand what it means to dive into these stories and to keep it, keep the essence and culture of it. I mean, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult to find that person.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of people out there, I'm sure, are like, yeah, hey, I'd do it. But it's like, it's tough. It's tough.
It absolutely is. I mean, you and I, we have a job in this, and there are some days where it's just a lot. But it's what we love, so we continue to do it. And we're willing to go that extra 10th, 11th, 12th, 50th mile because that's what we're passionate about. So that's what you need. Somebody who's willing to eat, breathe, drink Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But then, like we said, it's just, but be able to truly understand it.
Yeah. Like it's one thing to say that, it's another thing to actually truly be like, this is what Star Wars is.
That's right. Yep. Because anybody could be, write a good story, direct a good story, shoot a good story. But is it Star Wars? That's going to be a big problem for him. But like I said, I think having Carrie back around is going to help. Yes. I'm pretty sure Jon Favreau isn't going anywhere. No. In fact, I wouldn't. Do you think? Do you think it's possible Favreau could end up being actually an employee of Lucasfilm?
That would not surprise me at all. I mean,
really?
I'm kind of shocked that he's not yet. I could also see him being like a contractor.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a freelancer, but a contractor with Lucas. But it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Like a supervising consultant or something.
Yeah, a consult. Yeah, I could totally see him being a consultant of some sort. Mm-hmm. Even a story editor.
Yeah. Because I mean, part of me does feel like he's at that point in his career that he could just start devoting it all to Star Wars.
Oh, he totally could.
Because he's done so much already. Mm-hmm. But then, then part of me is like, well, most directors like that want to diversify and find the next story and the next story and do other things. But
I feel like he could retire now and then just consult.
Oh yeah, totally, he could. But I feel like he's done nothing but Star Wars at least the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
right.
That is true.
I think his last movie, if I remember correctly, was the live action Lion King. Yeah. And then he's been doing Mando, and I don't know if he's done anything. I think he had a cooking show or something going on Netflix or something like that. But anyway, he's another one that I think could be around for a while to help Dave out. And I feel like some of these other directors that he's worked with and learned from, I think like Bryce Dallas Howard, I think will be around a lot more with him.
Oh, yes.
Deborah Chow, I don't know. I think there's possible that they could. Now, I will say the one thing that I'll be curious about your thought about this too is he's a creative officer. So technically he is the one that's going to be in charge of deciding which stories are going to get told. Right. Right. And if he's the chief creative officer, that means it's pretty much all mediums. So you're talking the books, the comics, the games, film, television. I wonder, because he is a Lucas apprentice, right? And now he's the master. How much longer do you think does he still decide that Lucasfilm stays within this Skywalker saga of stories?
Oh, he totally gets a say.
No. I'm saying how long are we going to still continue to get these stories, or do you think he will actually start taking us somewhere else? You know what I mean?
Right. I think he'll take us somewhere else, but I think he'll always have a Skywalker saga story to tell. Like he'll find something, whether it's you know that little mouse droid that was on the Death Star. Well, now we're doing a whole TV show about him and his whole life story.
Yeah.
Mouse droid number 2, because that's there's something very nostalgic there for him, and I think he feels that for a lot of people who grew up with Star Wars from the very beginning. So I always think there will be some sort of story to tell in the Skywalker saga, whether some of us like that or not. I think there will always be something there. But I think he knows he has almost no choice but to go outside of the Skywalker saga. And with some of the movies that were announced, we're clearly going in that direction anyway.
True.
So I think he knows he has to, but there will always be something.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think because he has that Lucas background, I think he still has that emotional connection to that timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna continue to do what I think it looks like Lucasfilm has been doing, which is plug in the holes of the timeline, right? What happened here during this gap of years. It's getting pretty filled up, but right now I feel like there's the Clone Wars fills the gap between 2 and 3, but there's 10 years in between 1 and 2, and I don't know what's in there, if there's anything that could be good in there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of gap there. Anakin's journey from episode 1 to episode 2, right? That we don't really know that dynamic yet. Anakin and Obi-Wan during that time. I think that would be a pretty good something to say.
Yeah. Completely agree.
I saw something too I saw an article pop up about someone talking about the prequels or the sequels and how, and again, I think maybe we probably talked about this, I'm sure, but like how looking back on them, the biggest problem that went into the storytelling of those 3 movies was that we were never told any of the backstory, or we never saw any of the backstory, right? Like,
yeah, we only got a couple quick lines of exposition every now and again.
Yeah. Like Ben had already turned, Luke was gone, Han and Leia's marriage was, rocky, and it's like those are things. They basically were saying those were things that I think as Star Wars fans we would have liked to see in the movies, not just be told. Right. So, I mean,
yes.
Yeah. But those are the kind of things I think that Dave would be more like in the creative side, be like, no, we need to tell that story. And that needs to be part of the journey of those characters, So.
Completely agree.
So that's a big one. I think that's a easy one that all of us fans are going to follow, and and hopefully he doesn't take. Hopefully fans don't tend to start destroying him like they did with George sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which unfortunately probably comes with the territory, but
it's gonna happen. I mean,
yeah,
there's always a hater out there.
Yeah. And with social media, there's a lot of them.
Oh, yes.
So, all right. Taika.
Yes.
Taika seems like he's going to still be doing his film, although there's no rush. And obviously, Lucasfilm hasn't announced anything or talked about anything. But that's out there, too, rumor-wise, that could still happen.
I'm very excited. We need a comedic sort of Star
You
Wars.
think it? So you think it will be that? Like, you think it'll be as far as like Thor? Like,
Either as far as like Thor or Jojo Rabbit.
oh yeah, yeah.
Dark humor. I could see it quickly going in a dark humor type of way.
I
I
do
can
want to see.
imagine.
I kind of interested in this new one that's coming out, the soccer movie. The soccer movie. Have you
Oh,
seen
I
the
didn't see
trailer
that
for that?
one yet.
Yeah, it's about that true story of this. I think it's a Hawaiian soccer team that's just horrible. They've never scored a goal, and so Michael Fassbender comes in as the coach.
What?
Yeah, he's like totally. I think he's like drunk and doesn't really care. But anyway, becomes a coach but Taika directed it, so it looks great. It's got a good balance. It seems like of heart and humor,
Mm-hmm.
And if it's that, then I'm all for it. I'd love to see a Star Wars movie like that.
Absolutely. I would even be okay with some dark humor. Follow a Sith and just have the dark humor that goes with it. I mean, come on. Darth Bane. Could you imagine Darth Bane as a dark comedy?
Being a comedy? Oh my gosh. I don't know
Dark
about
comedy.
that. I don't know about that, but
Oh, that'd be funny.
yeah, that would be different. That would be different.
So let's do it. Let's do it.
So, but again, this is hard to imagine though, because you've definitely got Rey coming back to do a movie, and you got the Dawn of the Jedi movie, and you got Filoni's movie. So it's hard to even imagine when Taika's is going to get done, and if ever. So I'd kind of chalk it up with the Rian Johnson thing. It's like, I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
I wonder though if he's waiting to see what Dawn, because like it could be he's waiting to see what the story of these movies are and how it will impact the story he does based on the timing of everything.
Yeah, very true.
So it could be he's like, I've got this idea, but the idea is going to morph and change based on what these ideas are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That is definitely true. Do you know another thing I read, which is pretty crazy, is to think that technically Patty Jenkins was doing Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
That movie was scheduled to come out this month.
Why are you?
So we would have had a Star Wars movie coming out in like 3 weeks, but that feels so long ago. Does it feel like so long ago?
Yes.
Well, kind of. I mean, like you said, time has gone pretty fast, but I don't remember when it was announced. Maybe a couple of years ago, but
it feels like forever ago, and yet it also feels like yesterday. It's like one of those weird
right?
things.
Yeah, December 2023 is when it was supposed to come out.
Okay. So. Okay.
And another quick thing, KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, the remake. Apparently the game designers have come out and said that's not dead. So, yeah, I'm excited about that too.
Oh, yeah. Such a great game. I'm excited to see what they kept and what they changed.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think we talked about too before, like the whole Revan thing. Is that's what's being changed? Is that why it's being a little delayed? Because is it going to tie in the High Republic?
I know, which we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, speaking of Phase 3 of the High Republic, started this past month.
We got a lot to catch up on.
Got a lot to catch up on. And then, like I said, the articles out there, Mando Season 4 is ramping up to get production going. Apparently, once the writer's strike ended, but the actor strike was still going on, writers went on and finished, apparently, Season 4, which probably was Filoni and Favreau. So that's supposed to be getting into production here soon. That's all I got. What do you got as far as news? Did you hear anything?
Yeah. Basically, you kind of addressed all of it. I mean, I saw a lot of, I did see something floating around on social media. And I don't think this is going to happen at all. I just want to throw that out there. But I thought it was very interesting is a lot of people were throwing out concepts of a what if Star Wars series.
Oh, right. I did see that. Yep.
Yeah. Like, what if Luke and Leia went both to the dark side?
Mm-hmm.
What if Obi-Wan never trained Luke? What if Anakin never turned dark? Like, I just see all of these really cool concept art pieces that are just stunning. And I think it's an interesting thing to think about, but also, like, I've never watched the What If that Marvel did. I never watched that series. But part of me doesn't understand, and maybe you can better explain this, but I've never really understood the whole idea of doing a whole nother series off of what ifs. Does that make does that make sense totally. To you?
Well, it does. What you're saying does make sense to me. I'd be very skeptical of a what if Star Wars series, just because, again, it's not canon. So it's like, yeah, it's great to if Luke and Leia fell to the dark side, what it would look like. I'm not so interested in those. But the Marvel thing, the reason why the Marvel thing works is because the what if pertain to the multiverse.
You're right.
So it's canon, like it's basically showing you a different multiverse version of these characters. And eventually it's going to kind of play, and some of those characters have played into the movies, like with Doctor Strange, Captain Carter, she was the what if, right? So, that play, but see, Star Wars doesn't have a multiverse.
I mean, I think if you were to argue that I think you can argue there's already a what if out there sort of series, and that's Visions.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're right. I think Visions is one of those things where, yes, it's like, this is the story, but this is kind of the storyteller's version of that story, which that's more, I can believe that more, that it, fits into the timeline. Like how somebody, because I've always said, the continuity issues that come up, with, you can always go back to, who shot first, Han or Greedo, but it comes down to, well, who it depends who tells you the story from that experience, right?
Right.
Because this person might have the perspective that Han shot first, but this person has a perspective. So it's like, you can believe what you want. The canon of it is Han eventually killed Greedo. Han shot and killed Greedo.
Right.
Who shot first? That's whoever you're asking, that's the certain point of view kind of thing, right? So yeah, I think Visions is like that. It's like, this story happened. We don't really know the timeline, but there's passed down stories about this happening, and how they describe it is a little unique to the way Star Wars looks. I dig that, even though some of those stories I don't really care for, but I do like the concept of that.
Mm-hmm. But news-wise, it's just been.
But you would want to see it. Would you want to see a what if series?
No.
Oh, okay.
I agree with you. I don't think. I mean, at least with the Marvel bit. Thank you for reminding me about the whole multiverse thing. I've been so out of Marvel.
Yeah.
It's at the point now where I'm so far behind, I don't even know if it's worth trying to catch up at this point. But you're right. They do have a multiverse, so it makes sense for a what if series. But just seeing those stars, I'm like, that's just too much. That feels like a money grab to me. That feels like, oh, what can we do to make more money? Oh, let's do this.
Yeah.
Instead of here's a story we want to tell.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think that's gonna. Yeah. I don't think that'll fly on Star Wars.
No, but between that and Filoni, that's all my social media feed has been with related to Star Wars. I will say this though. So I remember a while ago we talked about, one thing we talked about was with comedy, is there really like a comedy Star Wars show out there? I think we're talking about Taika and what type of, like, this was episodes ago. Well, later after the show posted, my father-in-law, he texted me and he said, Family Guy Star Wars.
All right.
And I was like, I never saw it. So over Thanksgiving, I saw it for the first time.
Oh.
So we can technically say that there is a comedy Star Wars thing out there.
Is it, was it a movie or was it like a couple episodes?
It was 3 episodes that were that were pretty long. Like they were long and they covered good.
But it was Star Wars or it was Family Guy? Like
it was Family Guy, each playing a Star Wars character, making fun of Star Wars, but actually telling the story of 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Not recommended for kids. I do want to say it's Family Guy. Of course, it's not recommended for kids. And some of the jokes, I was like, okay, that's no. Yeah. But there were parts that were really funny because they pointed out things about Star Wars. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see Star Wars like that comedy.
Right.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah. No.
But I thought it was worth mentioning.
No, you're right. I think, you just reminded me though, a couple things. One, when Robot Chicken was involved.
That was the other one. Yep, Robot Chicken. But Mark Hamill actually did the voice of Luke Skywalker for that.
Yes. He was big into that. And I wasn't really into the whole style, stop motion stuff. So I didn't watch a lot of them, but I did watch eventually the long versions of the Star Wars ones. And they're pretty funny. They're pretty good.
The one with Luke and Leia, like that one just also between Luke and Vader when he's like telling him he's his father. That's another one that stays in my mind.
Yes. Mine is the Emperor. Like,
yes.
Like him going up the escalator and Stormtrooper. Like it's so like everybody is so good. It's so good. But another thing which we would have gotten the first true canon comedy series was that Star Wars Detours animated show that didn't get finished. I mean, there's tons of episodes finished. I think there's over 50 episodes finished, but never released.
Do you think they will release it?
I don't. I if you would have asked me 5 maybe 6 years ago, maybe, but I'm sorry. Actually, ever since Lucasfilm got bought by Disney, no, that's something Disney won't. Because it's that Robot Chicken vein. Is the same guys, Stupid Monkey, that Seth Green and Matthew Senrich, those guys, they are the ones that did that. And, that comedy from it was coming over to that. So, it wasn't going to be cussing, but it was going to be on Comedy Central, or not Comedy Central. I think maybe it was Comedy Central, but I think it was like on the Adult Swim stuff. So it was going to be late night stuff, like Star Wars. So, but that was true comedy. Like it was canon. I mean, I was at Star Wars Celebration when George was talking about it, and he said, this is canon that's coming out. So it took place between episodes 3 and 4. It was a Death Star getting built. And the idea was, it was detours because to hide, basically the Emperor decided to hide the construction of the Death Star. They turned it into like a shopping mall. So they disguised it by making it like a shopping mall with all these shops in there. So when people came there, they didn't know it was just a planet destroying space station.
What?
Yes, I'm telling you, that was the premise of the show. So, and they had these two stormtroopers. That were kind of the leads. And it was Donald Faison and Breckin Meyer. Those two. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. They were the stormtroopers, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so. I saw. Luckily, I saw portions of it when I was at Celebration, I was so stoked, man. I really wanted to see that.
Hey, Filoni, you need a show idea?
Yeah, right. So
I'm not joking.
I'm not either, and you're right. Maybe now that Filoni's there, I would probably put it back on the table that it could eventually see the light of day.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
it could.
That's
because
funny.
he was around when that was happening, right? Because
Right.
that was happening. I want to say the tail end of Clone Wars, so it was like right before Disney bought. So Disney bought 2012. So yeah, it was around like 2010, 2011. So it's been 10 years or so, but man, it looked so good. And it was the animation style was it was animated, but it wasn't like 3D animated. It was like cartoon animated almost in a sense, but it was so good. It looked good. It was great. Anyway, we went on a little tangent there about that, but
Tangent.
let's see. I do want to talk about rumors about the release schedule here.
Okay.
But of course, other release schedules in the publishing world real quick. Eye of Darkness, like we talked about, the Phase 3 novels have kicked in for the High Republic. That came out back November 14th. The next book is, at least scheduled right now, is Tales of Enlightenment for the High Republic. That's coming out actually this coming Tuesday, December 5th. That's a collection of, I believe that's just a collection of short stories that were published in Star Wars Insider. Defy the Storm is March 12th, which ends Phase 3.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of comics coming in December. Next week, you've got Star Wars 41. You got Dark Droids, D Squad number 4. On the 13th, you've got Bounty Hunters 41, which I think is coming to a close. You got High Republic Shadows of Starlight number 3. And then on the 20th, you've got Vader 41, Afra 39, High Republic number 2, a Star Wars Revelations one-shot, and then Mandalorian Season 2 number 7, and Dark Droids number 5 kind of rounds out your December comics. So lots of comics there to get into. Okay, so next year, Hannah, real quick, what?
Right.
I don't know if you've seen it, but the rumors that I've seen are that we're going to get 4 series that is going to. What was that? Oh, that thing my phone thought I said Siri. She said, "Huh?"
I heard that too. I was like,
who was that? It was her on my phone. So, Star Wars series is on Disney Plus, 4 of them. So that's the thought process. Now, what we were told a while ago before the strikes was that the Skeleton Crew was going to be released at the end of 2023. So right about now is when we were going to get that. What I'm hearing and seeing right now is that has been actually delayed about a year. So we're not getting that to the end of 2024 now.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's one.
Yeah.
The other one is an announcement we got earlier this year or mid this year. There will be a second season of Tales of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be out this year, 2024.
Okay.
The Acolyte.
Right.
Which is apparently pretty much done.
Sweet. Air it tomorrow.
I know, right? Let's get this going. And then the other one is the final season of The Bad Batch. So no Mandalorian.
Uh-huh.
And obviously no Ahsoka because they haven't even shot that at all.
Yeah, no Andor either.
No Andor. Andor apparently is delayed now to 2025 as well.
Yeah.
So if that's true, then it comes down to, well, in what order are we getting these?
Yeah.
I think if Skeleton Crew is truly delayed a year, so that's the last one we'll get. I think the first one we'll get is Bad Batch. Because I feel like that was already kind of being done and that wasn't affected by the strikes at all.
Okay.
And then I think Acolyte. Then I think some Tales of the Jedi. And then I think Skeleton Crew.
Okay. Huh. Is that
what are
too
your
much?
Thoughts? Well, what are your thoughts on that content? You got 2 animated series and 2 live action series.
I wonder if it's too much at once. Because, like, you're starting to inch into Marvel territory when they kind of threw everything at you. At least with Tales of the Jedi, it's probably going to be 6 to 8 episodes, so it's not going to be a lot. Bad Batch, you're looking at, if it's like the last season, you're looking at 15 to 20 episodes.
Right.
And then Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, you're probably looking at 6 to 10 episodes each. Like, that's a lot. Is that too much?
I mean,
like, is that too overwhelming? I mean, I feel like it's varied enough. Like, you have people who are into the Clone Wars, they'll like Bad Batch. You have people who like Tales of the Jedi. Not everybody does like Tales of the Jedi because it is more of a niche thing. So at least you got some variance there, but is that too much at once?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think back. I don't believe we've gotten a year yet where we've gotten 4 series.
Have we even had one where we had 3?
Yeah, I think this past this year, did we not get this year?
I think we got Bad Batch, Andor, and Ahsoka, right?
Andor was last year.
That was last year?
Yeah, because that was last fall.
Oh, okay.
And then we got Ahsoka this year. We got
Mando,
and Bad Batch, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And Tales.
We got 4? Yeah, we got 4.
I believe Bad Batch.
Right.
If I remember correctly, did Bad Batch bleed into from last year to this year?
I thought so.
I think it started at the end of last year and then finished this year, and then Mando started. It's hard for me to remember, but so I think we got some of Bad Batch this year.
Okay, 2023 had Bad Batch Season 2, Mandalorian Season 3, Star Wars Visions 2.
Oh, yeah, Visions.
Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures.
Yeah, that's the little animated show.
And Ahsoka.
Okay, so Tales was last year.
Oh, that's
Tales, Andor, and Obi-Wan were last year.
Obi-Wan was last year, not this year?
No, Obi-Wan was last year.
Everything is bleeding together.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm trying to see if there's like a list.
I want to say 3 is the most we've gotten. Like full series. So that's the thing is even next year, if Skeleton Crew comes out late next year, it'll bleed into 2025. So it won't be the full series, I think, but Bad Batch and Acolyte, I think, are for sure next year.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong, but that's
anyway.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oof. I don't know. I guess
but it does make you think. But here's the thing: is you're talking 2 new series, live action series that have no familiar characters.
Yes.
So this is different.
Yes.
It's not a nostalgia play here.
That's risky.
It's very risky. This is a very... and then you got Tales of the Jedi, depending on where they go with that. You know, you're going to have your Clone Wars and your Rebels fans that are probably going to watch that.
Yeah.
Bad Batch, you already you just have your fans from the first 2 seasons. You're not going to really pick up new fans because of this season.
Mm-hmm.
So you're banking on these new live action shows to fulfill Star Wars, excitement, and have no familiarity of characters.
I feel like Acolyte, I don't feel like Acolyte is as much as a risk as Skeleton Crew. Because at least with Acolyte, we're familiar with the Sith.
Yeah.
And we get to learn more about it. And we might get Darth Plagueis, which would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Skeleton Crew is definitely going to be the risky one. And you're right, to do 2 new shows with no Skywalker context.
No.
In the sense of like any characters or, oh man.
All new characters, yeah. I mean,
it's going to be awesome.
I guess Skeleton Crew has a chance to, because that's kind of the Mandoverse.
So you might get a couple of familiar faces, but even when you think of Mandalorian season 1,
yeah.
we didn't necessarily have any quote unquote old characters.
Mm-mm.
And that did really well.
Yep.
So, but there was a lot of familiarness with it. So maybe that'll be what hooks people
with
to
Mandalorians and, I think it was something that it was the first live action series,
Yeah.
It had its chance, of bombing, but had a lot playing up for it too. So, and Acolyte, like you said, I think Acolyte is going to be embraced really well because we haven't gone there yet with the dark side.
The one I'm worried about is Skeleton Crew. If I were to pick one to be worried about.
Yeah, Skeleton Crew, we'll see. Yeah, there were rumors that there were going to be some trailers and stuff of that, but if they're pushing it back for a year, then I doubt they'll do any kind of look or teaser for that yet.
You don't know what Christmas gifts we might get?
I think we'll get something from Acolyte, maybe. That's what I think.
That would be amazing.
Yes. Huge.
Yes.
Okay, so we will see as time goes on. Unfortunately, December, a lot of studios kind of close up shop. So, we'll see what we can get these next couple of weeks because towards the end of the month, probably nothing.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. All right. So, thanks everybody. Let's see. Sorry, I forgot to look and see if we had any mentions or comments from our last episode. Let's see. Yeah, we did our last episode a couple weeks ago. See, Thrawn Addict says slow week on Star Wars news, but you both found a way to make a great and fun episode. So thank you. I agree with both of you. AI can be helpful if used correctly, but just hope we don't go down the Terminator road in 30 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Would love to see an Obi-Wan Satine series or even an animated series showing how they met, etc. I think we had a lot of romance in the Lucas era of Star Wars, but Disney films have definitely taken a step back from it, with only getting hints between Rey and Kylo and Rose and Finn, but not doing much with it. I would love to see a Lost Stars novel type storyline with both characters being in love, but being on different sides.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thanks again, David Hannah. May the Force be with you. Totally. Lost Stars is such an I don't even know how do you say it. It's like, it's not underrated because it's just no one talks enough about that book.
It's so good. Could you imagine the love story between a Jedi and a Sith? And they realize that it's really the yin and yang of the Force. There isn't necessarily a good and light side. There's dark sides of the Force and light sides of the Force, and it's this beautiful yin yang of balance.
Yeah. That's crazy. That would be crazy.
Filoni, there's another idea for you. You're welcome.
Yeah, there you go. Just listen to us. You'll be fine. Oh, man. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. Hope everybody, again, is looking forward to the holidays. We'll, of course, be kicking at it every week, except maybe, obviously the main. Well, actually, Christmas is early in the week, so we might be all right.
Yeah, we might.
We'll have to see what our schedules look like, but yeah, thanks everybody. Take care. Of course, thanks to our patrons as always. Patreon.com/Inside the Force. If you want to go and support the show that way. Hannah, thank you as always.
Dave, thank you as always.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a great week. May the Force be with you.